The new library was designed by J.C. Buckler in the mid-19th century. It was designed to be a schoolhouse for Magdalen College School. Now, in the 1920s, the school moved across the bridge and the college decided to turn that building into the college library. And they employed Giles Gilbert Scott, another good architect, to redesign the building. Unfortunately, this is not his best work. He just put one floor in, this one big room, and it's quite unsympathetic. It cuts right across some of the beautiful windows that Buckler designed. When the college library was open in 1930, we had 179 students and about 35 fellows. That was fine. We had about 24 reading spaces and storage for books. I think it probably worked beautifully then. By the 1970s, however, the college thought that building was much too small for a library for a college of this size. By then we had 300 students. Now for various reasons those plans didn't go through. In 2011 we have more than twice that many students. We have over 600 students. We have fellows who want and do use the library. And we've got staff members who come in and use the DVD collection and so on. So the need for more space is absolutely critical now.
Well, Magdalen is lucky. We do have leading book collections. We have the finest collection of DVDs in the university. We buy books on demand for any student who has a reasonable request to make. We have a growing collection. We have some IT facilities here as well. And it is a remarkable library in lots of ways. The key problem with all of this is, though, that we're running out of space. Running out of space for the books, running out of space for the students.
There's just not enough room. So many times I by accident push some of my books a millimetre to the left and it's already kind of hitting someone's laptop. It really is kind of ridiculous. It's a huge problem, especially exam time, when you wake up, you think, oh, I've got an exam. Do I have even enough space to plug in my laptop in the library? That's an extra stress that it's just not great, really.
If you come in early enough in the mornings, there's sometimes places to sit, but generally as you get on later in the day, they fill up very quickly. And after lunch and things, if you come back slightly later than someone else, your desk can be gone.
When there were lots of finalists in here, we had to have other tables out in the middle of the upstairs, and it just means that the whole place becomes quite claustrophobic.
I don't use the library very often because it's full of students, and the students who can't get into the library then come to talk to me about the problems they have with not being able to have a workspace they can use adequately. A number then work in their rooms where they're interrupted by noisy neighbours, and then too they come and moan to me, and then I have to try and deal with the situation in terms of allowing people to get on with each other.
We now have about 48 reader places for about 600 or 700 potential readers. That gives Magdalen College, which in so many other respects is a wonderful world-class international academic institution, that gives Magdalen a ratio of about 1 seat for every 14 students or potential readers. And that is the worst seating ratio of any of the colleges in Oxford and Cambridge. And I must admit I was kind of shocked when I discovered that.
I don't use the Magdalen Library that often because I find that you have to battle for space and you have to come in very early in the morning if you want to work, if you want to be able to get enough space to actually work. So I tend to use subject-specific libraries or the Union Library instead.
Last year, 80,000 books and films circulated in that library. And students still use books. They still ask us to buy books, and we buy about 2,500 books every year. So there's a big space problem for the books. The space problem for librarians, the library staff, is probably the most acute. We've got a number of staff members who try to work behind the inquiry desk. We can't work efficiently there because there's not enough space. We have only enough space for one computer, so we can only do one thing at a time. Then upstairs we have a tiny library office. Now you can see that we're no longer in the library. That's because I moved out of that tiny library office to leave a bit more space for library staff who are there. But that, that's not ideal to have the person who's managing the libraries in another building. Now we don't allow eating and drinking in the library, So we have to provide a place where we can have coffee and students can have coffee, or stop and have a break and talk to each other. That is the library porch. There really is no place where librarians can go and just be away from the students for a little while. When we have coffee on the porch, we have students streaming in and out of the library, coming out to apologetically ask us questions and so on. So it's just not a very good environment to work in. Every day we empty a book drop. Students return their books and they put them through a slot in the desk, and the books pile up. And about this time of the year, at the end of Trinity term, students are bringing back all their books before they go home for the summer. And we have thousands of books. I mean, 80,000 books were circulating last year. So all those books have to be carried by hand up or down the stairs or across the room to a book trolley. Again, because we have no lift, not even a tiny lift for books. So that's a real problem, and we accommodate that as best we can. But we couldn't justify asking a staff member who has back problems. We couldn't ask them to haul books around like that. But again, the librarians there are real troopers, and so we all pitch in and carry the books around. It will be nice to have a lift, though. Another one of the problems that we have is that the roof leaks almost every time it rains. And that's not so bad, except the maddening thing is that the roof leaks in a different place almost every time. So we've had to store big pieces of plastic upstairs so that we can cover the bookshelves, in whatever place it is that it's raining. Very often it just falls down on a desk where a student's working, so we give them a bucket and they keep working. There are just lots of other problems because it's an old building that hasn't been refurbished for a long time. The paint is peeling. The heating system is one that was put in the 1920s. We don't have any real thermostats. We can't control the heat in the winter. The lighting is bad in many respects. It's fluorescent lighting, which isn't very good anyway, and is discouraged for use for reading and so on. Bright light on shiny desk surfaces is not recommended, and that's what we have upstairs with those reading desks. In every respect, that lighting is wrong. It's the wrong color, it's the wrong brightness, it's just completely wrong. Electricity, I think the electrical circuits are safe, but we don't have enough electrical outlets.
Often I kind of run out of PowerPoint sockets because there's so many people plugging in, and also, we've got extra tables but with no power plugs, and a lot of the work you're working on, you're using your laptop, you're looking at essays, you're revising, which you need the power for, so it's quite inadequate.
I do find it quite surprising that Magdalen Library is in the state it is, especially when I've been to use other college libraries for specific books, particularly at colleges that aren't quite as prestigious, and then they have better facilities in their library. You just don't really expect it of Magdalen, seeing as it has such a high reputation.
I think the library, and particularly the college library, is really important because it's very easy during the day for you to not really see anyone from college, especially if you've got lectures, and I'm a medic, so I've got quite a lot of lectures. And it's quite a nice place to see other people, and it's one of those few places that really makes you feel part of an academic community.
My ideal library would have a lot of space so that you don't have to battle with people for desks, you don't have to sit elbow to elbow with them, you don't have to worry about PowerPoints and things for laptops. There's enough to worry about anyway.
Our plans for the new library incorporate Longwall Quad, which will be Wi-Fi'd, so that it becomes a sort of library outside the library in good weather. The north side will have lawn, and the rest will be landscaped to provide more seating, steps, and a ramp to the new entrance. A helpful librarian should greet you from the inquiry desk as you enter. Turning to the right, you go past a little garden to the new Longwall reading room. This has quiet workspace as well as a room at the end for collaborative learning. On either side of the entrance are more casual reading and meeting areas. We take the stairs now to the upper ground floor, where the architects Wright and Wright have created an ingenious solution to some of our space problems. They have designed what might be described as a large piece of oak furniture that will sit within the building originally planned by J.C. Buckler in the 1840s. The new structure will give us 3 floors of flexible work and book space, like this one on the upper ground floor, which will have some book shelving and spacious 4-person tables, as well as new views of full height of the building. One of the real beauties of this design is that it reveals the unbroken length of Buckler's windows for the first time since the 1930s and allows some satisfying views of his beautiful wooden ceiling. The top floor will provide even closer views of the ceiling, as well as more and different kinds of space for readers. From here we can take the stairs, or the lift on the left, to the middle reading room. To give you an orientation point, these stairs have been artfully inserted into what is now the entranceway and tower of the new library. Engineering the design was a difficult but successful process. The balcony walls in the middle floor reading room will have glass panels to enhance the views of the windows and reading spaces and to increase natural lighting. Overall lighting will be vastly improved over what we have now, and will actually be able to control the temperature throughout the building. Students sitting at the single-person desks on this floor will be able to rest their eyes on a long view of the quad. The library will have full access to digital resources, of course, but I believe that will continue to be complemented for some time by fairly heavy use of printed books. Last year, nearly 75,000 books and films were checked out or renewed by Magdalen readers. And here we see a proper book trolley, a realistic film feature much appreciated by the library staff. The pictures we'll show you now give you a different and more detailed perspective on the new structure and reading rooms, including the middle reading room we just left and the long wall reading room. This is an outstanding plan that combines the best of Buckler's architecture with good 21st century design. It will give Magdalen not just a library appropriate to its status or badly needed space for readers, staff, and books, but its built-in flexibility will provide us with a library fit for now and for the future.